Sup nerds, I'm Tom. We're going to talk about a game where chickens eat gems and then poop out prettier gems. Hens is the most recent game from Social Sloth Games, which is sort of an imprint from Grey Fox Games. And it's to be relatively lighter games, a bit more cute on the theme type of games. I think they said they also wanted them to be slightly more educational-esque, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm characterizing Social Sloth Games perfectly here, but it is a very light game. The strategy, there is some depth to it, but basically there will be gems that get seeded on the board at the beginning of the game. Everybody has these rounds where they have their dice, and they do a real-time dice rolling mechanic where in 30 seconds you're going to roll and re-roll however many of the dice, however much you want in that 30 seconds to get the faces of the dice that you want. And the faces are the actions you get to do that turn, or really that round, the actions that you get to do that upcoming round. Because you actually go around, everybody does one action. Most of the actions for 1, 2, and 3 are to move 1, 2, and 3 spaces across this board. And wherever you land, that's where you pick up the gems, and you're kind of doing set collection, because once you pick up a gem of a certain color, you place it in a certain area on your board, and you're trying to fill up that board with gems of all that same color. And there are different rarity to the gems and things. If you don't fill up a whole area, you get nothing for those. And if you ever can't place a gem, so like towards the end of the game, your board is all full up. Like, the only spot I have open is for a red gem in this one area right here, but I just got a yellow gem, so I technically have no place to put it, so I have to ditch it. And the more rare a gem that you have to ditch, the more negative points it is for you. But there is one big aspect that I didn't mention, is that in between doing the real-time dice rolling and then spending your actions to move, and you can also spend actions to seed the board again with more gems, you also do sort of a draft of special ability cards where you decide your turn order. You actually, when you're and I'm not showing you how to play the game, just kind of giving you a brief overview, but as you're doing your real-time dice rolling, all the 6s you get, you roll those again at after the timer is done. And whoever gets the highest total through the lowest total then gets to decide their turn order. So, I want to be first in this round. Well, if you're going to be first in this round, then you are going to draft your special ability last. Okay, well, I want to go last in this upcoming round. Okay, well, then go ahead and take your turn order. Take your special ability card, because you get to do that first. So you kind of alternate those a little bit there. That's going to lead to my first complaint of the game. I have a couple complaints, but the first complaint is that while the special ability cards are really fun, add a lot of variability to the game, they seem relatively balanced. There's a couple that are like better early game versus late game type of things, and there are a few that I could definitely see are better than others. But no single trump one, like, every time this one comes up, this is the best one. But I think that is definitely due to the fact of you want some to be a little bit better than others, so that way you're incentivized to, maybe I do want to go last so I can get that better card. But the cards aren't marked perfectly, if that makes sense. Like, some of them say once per round, and some of them don't say once per round, but they are only triggering once per round. And, there really should be like a little hourglass thing where it's like the entire turn, or like a once per round symbol, or like a light. None of them seem to happen right when... No, there is one that happens right at the beginning of the round where you get to place a little token. Oh, this space is blocked and only I can move through that space. And that does happen before the round begins. So it's kind of like an instant. So you could have a little lightning bolt. There's just... and I don't know. I just think the cards could have had better explanations, because there's a decent amount of like looking at the cards and saying, we had to look a lot of things up, surprisingly. And I was like, this could have been worded a little bit better. For instance, this card, Eat and Run. Whenever you move through but do not stop in a space, you may eat a single gem from that space. So normally, you only eat a gem when you end your movement. But this says, hey, you can actually be eating gems as you're moving, as you move through other spaces with gems. I'm going to, move through this space with a red and land on this one to pick up everything. Well, hey, I can still pick up that red that I moved through. But the fact that but do not stop in is in parentheses. Whenever you move through but do not stop in a space, you may eat a single gem from that space. Does that mean that you can't eat gems where you land on like you normally would? We kind of consulted the rule book, and it wasn't 100% clear, but it seems like, yeah, you probably still can do your natural end pickup of gems thing, and this is just in addition to it. But the fact that we had to check the rulebook and there was a little bit of an argument about it, it just could have been more clear. Outside of that, the other complaints that I have are kind of component-wise, really. So first of all, you may be noticing this board is unreasonably tiny, unreasonably small. You usually have 1 or 2 gems, but there are times when you can have up to 3 gems on a spot on the board. And you can barely fit 3 gems on this one spot before they start rolling over into other spots and causing confusion. And once you then start to put your chicken there, now there can only be 1 chicken or hen, whatever, in a space at a time. So at least you're not trying to fit, 3 or 4 chickens all in that space and 3 gems. But once you have 3 gems there, and then you try to put a chicken in there, well, now it's really crowded, and they're gonna move off to the into other spaces. And you may be noticing as I'm doing this, these chickens don't stand up. They're so top heavy. Their feet are so teeny tiny that a lot of times I just flip it upside down and move it like that, because then I don't have to deal with it falling over. And it falling over can be a big deal if it knocks other gems into other spots. So it's not just like this doesn't look like a chicken, it's not. No, it causes functional problems in the game. Lastly, I think the gems are fine, but a lot of the times the colors look really different, especially for colorblind people. I played it with a guy who is almost colorblind, and he was having he had to ask, what color is this, what color is this, what color is this, all the time. And, even, people who aren't colorblind, in bad lighting, the orange and the yellow look very similar. Now, there are solutions to this problem. My friend Bonnie, who bought a copy, she marked her orange, I think, with a permanent marker so that it looks a little bit different. It says a little black ring around it. And she also took this board to like a print shop and got it blown up like twice as big or something, and got that printed out and laminated, which actually is something you might be seeing in some of the pictures that I keep throwing up during this video, seemingly at random. So you may be thinking right now, wow, Tom's being pretty harsh on this game. He probably doesn't really like this game. But, I just put all of my negative thoughts at the beginning of the video just to see how many of you are going to stay to the end to see what I really think. And honestly, it's just really unfortunate that I have so many problems with, like, the production of the game. The components and the cards not being very clear and things like that, because I really enjoyed the game. I think it's kind of great. The complexity and, like, the playtime, like, its weight, so to speak, is really perfect, where a lot of people will get it pretty easily, but when it comes to actually playing, there's a lot of strategy of, I have all my actions, I know what I can do, so if I move 1 here, I can pick up that, and then I'll spend my 2 to move here. I have a wild, so then I can move here, or I have this 3, and I have to move 3, but now if I go this way and I bump into the wall, so it's not an intro game per se, but it's definitely for newer gamers. It is, another one of those games where easy to learn, hard to master type of thing. And it's a really cool mix of mechanics, because I really like the real-time dice rolling thing, but that's just to get yourself set up. And you never really feel like, oh no, I never got what I wanted. There's also a decent amount of mitigating that luck, because you could just be like, screw it. I'm just going to roll a bunch of 6s because I want to go first, because I want this ability. That's my whole goal for the turn. Because, like, again, if I'm sitting there and I make a plan for my next turn, right? All the chickens go back, to the coop at the end of the round. So I know, all right, so I'm going to need a 2 because I want to go 1, 2 and pick up this gem. And then I want to go 3 because I want to go 1, 2, 3 and pick up these. And then I want to, a 2 again to go 1, 2 and pick up these. That may be my plan. And when I roll all my dice, hey, I got a 2 2s and a 3, whatever it is I wanted. And then I don't even go first. And somebody else comes and picks those up. So now what am I going to do? Well, maybe I'll seed again. Or, maybe I'll seed so that it's the last round. So I'll give whatever comes out of the bag to the red player, and they can't really handle a lot. Their board's pretty full. So I'm just going to start giving them negative points. It does get kind of mean. You can push other chickens, So again, I had a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Very innovative. Well, I don't know if innovative is the word, but the fact that there's those different types of mechanics, the real-time dice rolling and the sort of drafting of the powers and the turn order, and then, the action, spending the different actions and stuff. Again, for newer players, that's going to sort of teach them a lot of different gaming styles and different gaming mechanics and stuff. Just really unfortunate that this at least this print run kind of sucks. So I did play it on the bigger board that Bonnie printed out, and she marked the orange gems, and that was obviously way better. Like, that was like the fix, really. And I think she told me that she only spent like $20 printing out the thing, which again in the game is what, like 30 or 40 or something. So that's a big percentage of the cost right there just to fix that problem. But it does fix the problem. And I have played it on this type of board. And while it's annoying and it causes problems, it's doable. It's not unplayable like this. It's just like, why? Especially because if you look at this board, there's an awful lot of like unused space, and they could have just made a bigger board that folded up, and fit in here perfectly fine. Like, maybe it's a production cost issue. I don't know. But I really wish that if there's like a second printing or a second edition or something that fixes these problems, this game would be like amazing. But I can't ignore them. They're not noticeable. I can't not talk about it. I can't not bring it up. Every person who I play with notices it and brings it up and says it. So it's not even like, well, it bothers me, but it won't bother other people. It'll bother a lot of people. I feel a little bad trashing on the components of the game so bad, because the game is really great, tons of fun. Highly recommend that you pick up a copy. We'll have a purchase link in the description box down below if you feel like, you can get over the small board, because it is doable. It's just annoying. Or maybe you want to wait for a second printing or a second edition if that ever comes. If nobody buys the first edition, they're probably not going to make a second edition, blah, blah, blah. You know how that stuff works. Subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored. Sup nerds, I'm Tom. We're going to talk about a game where chickens eat